John and Bridget were a modern couple, rooted in a strong relationship and mutual trust forged over the years. Their love was obvious to all who knew them, a harmonious blend of complicity, respect, and a shared joy for life. Bridget, a brilliant marketing consultant, had landed a golden opportunity, a decisive interview in New York that could propel her career to new heights. The trip, planned for a long weekend, left John alone in Paris. Rather than staying in their empty apartment, it was decided that he would spend these few days of respite in the countryside, not at Bridget's mother's this time, but at her cousin Adeline's. Adeline was a fascinating figure in Bridget's family. A mature woman, elegantly in her 50s, she exuded an aura of confidence and an uninhibited sensuality. Her flamboyant red hair, often pulled back in a loose bun, framed a face with fine features and piercing green eyes that always seemed to hide a secret or a mischievous glint. Adeline had always had a penchant for provocation, a character trait that made her both captivating and at times a little intimidating. Bridget loved her dearly, but acknowledged that her cousin had her own way of testing people, especially those who came close to her family circle. And John, her favorite cousin's husband, was about to experience it firsthand. Adeline, deep down, wanted to make sure that John was truly the man Bridget deserved, a man of worth and unwavering loyalty. From the very first hours, John perceived the unique atmosphere at Adeline's. Adeline asked John questions about his work, his passions, but also about his relationship with Bridget, with a curiosity that went beyond simple politeness. She often looked at him with an intense gaze, an enigmatic smile. The next morning, she wore a flowing silk robe, barely tied, subtly revealing her shoulders and part of her leg. She bent down to get a cup from the top cupboard, her silhouette gracefully outlined. "John, my dear, you're an early bird," she said in a husky, playful voice. "Coffee." John, a little uncomfortable with the proximity and attire, responded politely. He quickly began talking about Bridget, her interview, their kitchen renovation project. He tried to anchor the conversation in neutral topics to erect an invisible barrier. Adeline listened to him, an amused smile on her lips, never breaking eye contact. In the afternoon, Adeline suggested a swim in her pool. "The water is lovely today, John. You should enjoy it." She appeared a few minutes later in a very high-cut one-piece swimsuit that highlighted her slender figure. She dove in with feline elegance, then swam a few laps before approaching John, who was sitting at the edge, feet in the water. "So, John, aren't you tempted?" she asked, her face close to his, water beating on her skin. "The water is so refreshing, and I love swimming with company." John, though sensitive to her charm, kept his composure. "It's very tempting, Adeline, but I think I'll stay cool here instead. I have to reply to some work emails, and I wouldn't want to damage my phone." He stood up, moving slightly away, and began to feign activity on his phone. Adeline watched him, that enigmatic smile still present. In the evening, after a light dinner, Adeline invited John to join her on the terrace for a digestive. The moon gently illuminated the garden. Adeline was wearing a flowing evening gown, its plunging neckline hinting at a delicate necklace. She poured him a glass of cognac, then sat a little too close to him on the stone bench. "John, I must confess I'm impressed by your discretion," she began, her voice low and melodious. "Bridget is very lucky to have a man like you. So composed." She placed her hand on his knee, a gesture that, though light, was laden with innuendo. "You know, John, life is short. You have to seize opportunities. Don't you think?" John felt his heart quicken, but he forced himself to remain calm. He looked at Adeline's hand on his knee, then at her face. He knew this was the crucial moment. He gently moved his leg, breaking contact. "Adeline, I completely agree with you," he said, his voice firm but respectful. "Life is short, and that's why I strive to live it fully with integrity. And for me, the greatest opportunity is being with Bridget. She's all that matters." He stood up, moving towards the terrace railing, looking at the stars. Adeline joined him, her face illuminated by a frank, admiring smile. The mischievous look had vanished, replaced by an expression of sincere respect. "John," she said, placing a friendly hand on his shoulder. "You passed the test." John turned, surprised. "The test?" Adeline nodded. "Yes. I'm sorry if I made you uncomfortable. But you know, my dear Bridget has had her share of disappointments in the past. I wanted to make sure she had found a man worthy of her trust, of her love. And you are, John. You absolutely are." Her green eyes sparkled with sincere emotion. "You are a rare man, John. A man of his word. Bridget is incredibly lucky." The next morning, before John drove back to Paris, Adeline hugged him warmly. "Have a good trip, my dear. And tell Bridget I'll call her as soon as she's back. I have very good news for her." As soon as Bridget was back in Paris, exhausted but euphoric after her successful interview, her phone rang. It was Adeline. "My darling, how was your interview?" she asked. And after enthusiastically listening to the details, she added in a voice vibrating with conviction, "Listen, sweetheart, I want to tell you something important. John is a wonderful man. You found someone rare, someone who fully deserves you. He is of unwavering loyalty and integrity." Bridget was surprised by the strength of her cousin's words. Adeline wasn't one to give such direct and passionate praise. "Adeline, is everything all right? You sound particularly convinced." Adeline laughed softly. "Yes, my dear. Everything is perfectly fine, and I am more than convinced. John is a rock, a man of worth. Hold on to him tight, my girl." That evening, as John and Bridget cuddled on their sofa, John told her about his weekend. The lively conversations, the swim in the pool, the digestives on the terrace. He deliberately omitted the moments where Adeline had tested him, because for him, those moments held no importance compared to the strength of his love for Bridget. He had simply been himself, a faithful and loving man. Bridget, snuggling against him, told him about her cousin's call. "Adeline was so emotional on the phone. She told me you were a wonderful man, a rock. I've never heard her talk about anyone like that." John smiled, hugging Bridget a little tighter. He then understood that Adeline's test had not been an attempt at seduction, but a trial of character.